Real quick, just wanted to remind everybody I have a Patreon. It is, the link is in the description. I have a video about Alvin Kamara on there right now, and I'm going to make a video every week, and it's only $1 a month. So if that's what you're into, can help support this channel, and I'd really appreciate it. But if you want to just watch the free stuff, that's obviously okay too. And back to your regularly scheduled video. So the Cowboys defense is really, really, really bad. You don't really need me to tell you that. You can just look at the numbers. You can just watch the games. You'll clearly know that this defense is not playing good football. But what I find interesting about it is why they're not playing good football. To me, it is 100% coaching, and there's no doubt about it. Why do I feel like it's coaching? Well, because I watched the All-22 footage, and it's pretty obvious to tell. Let's just jump into it. I'll show why. We'll start things off with this play. It's going to be cover 4 zone here, and Seattle has a receiver running deep, which basically the way this works against quarters coverage, there's going to be 4 defenders deep, and you kind of just try to run in between 2 of their zones. This is actually something that's weirdly happened a lot this year, something I've weirdly talked about a lot this year. I'm not sure why it's been so frequent, but basically the idea is that since there's multiple players in the area, since someone runs deep, sometimes neither one of those 2 guys will pick up the receiver who is running deep. I've compared it to like when someone gets hurt in a crowded area. Sometimes no one calls the police because everyone just assumes somebody else is going to do it, but wonders, one person gets hurt and there's only one other person in the area, they usually rush to help that person. It's kind of a similar concept where sometimes it's a bad thing to have so many people in the area, and it's always a bad thing when those players are Dallas Cowboys. Watch how once this play starts, you're going to notice that, player running a deep route, and there are 3 Cowboys who could make this play. Now, let's just take them one at a time. First, we'll start with the one that's on the uppermost of the screen. The one that's supposed to be covering the topmost section of the field, the sideline to Russell Wilson's right. He's kind of in a bad position because, if he's the only one who covers the Seattle player, it's going to be difficult for him because, the Seattle player is going to run over the middle, and therefore it's kind of a bad angle if he, it's very easy because of the way that, they're not totally together laterally. So you would need some help. So one of the other 2 Dallas players should help, and you'd think that the second uppermost one would be the one to do it, the one in the middle, because the one at the bottom, he still does have to worry about another Seattle in the area, plus, he's kind of way far over. So you'd think the other safety is going to run over and help. He's going to stay deep. That's what he should do. However, for God knows what reason, he decides to stop. And of course, the other Dallas player did as well. And so this just leads to an easy touchdown. And it's just bad communication. And there's no excuse for bad communication when there's nobody in the stands because you can actually communicate on these plays. But regardless, you shouldn't have to be communicating mid-play. You should already know what you're supposed to do on each of these plays. And I'm telling you, this is not an isolated incident. You will see this 100 times over with the Cowboys watching their games. They've been abysmal. Nobody understands their assignment, and to me, it does go down to coaching at the end of the day. I mean, they have a lot of young players, but they're just not well coached. This is another example where it's going to be cover 2 this time, and you have DK Metcalf running a deep route, and the guy who's lined up on him is going to be Diggs right here, the rookie. But once this play starts, you notice that, so DK Metcalf, the receiver, who's in the yellow circle, he's making a move right here. He's trying to get past Diggs. But what drives me crazy about this is, again, there's a safety who, what is he doing? He's taking away an underneath route, or a route more underneath, not an underneath route, but a route that's closer to the middle of the field. Whereas now you have Metcalf getting left alone completely on an island with your rookie corner, and it's just not a recipe for success. It really isn't. Metcalf is able to make a move, gets wide open, and this should have been a touchdown had Metcalf not just, waltzed into the end zone. So I actually think that was a good play from Diggs. I mean, he did get beat, but, you're a rookie. You're going to get beat by good receivers. I give him some credit for being able to come back and knock the ball out. But more importantly, he should have never been in that situation to begin with. And Dallas is putting themselves in positions to fail. oftentimes in zone coverage, really your zone is more of a suggestion than a rule. And this is an example of them sort of treating it like a rule as opposed to a suggestion and having it backfire, where this is going to be cover 2 zone. And a receiver is going to run a route that's going to try to get into a gap in coverage. So, on paper, this is good for Seattle. So, typically, how do you beat something that's good for the offense when it's a zone coverage play on paper? Well, you sort of shift your zones around to make it work. And once this play starts, you notice that it's actually a pretty simple thing for Dallas to do. I mean, they essentially have 4 guys, any of which could run over and take away that route. I mean, there's no one else for Seattle on that side of the field. And now, who should do it exactly? Well, there's several things you could argue. I think probably the easiest would be one of the 2 linebackers over the middle, preferably the linebacker closest to the receiver. That just makes the most sense. He should turn around and make sure he's blocking off that gap. You could also argue that Diggs, again, the corner who's currently standing right on the 30-yard line, he's the one who should run over and make this play. One of them should run over and make the play, while the other makes sure he doesn't allow Russell Wilson to throw on him. That's kind of what you would hope for here. However, again, they kind of just stay where they're quote-unquote supposed to stay, which leads an easy completion for Russell Wilson. Well, I mean, easy for Russell Wilson. He still had to run around in the pocket because there was pressure, but there was just a window when there shouldn't have been. Dallas should have done a better job at making sure they realize what's going on, looking around, and knowing whose job it is in each of these situations to cover the receiver and whose job it is to take away Russell Wilson, because if Wilson decided to run with it, he would have had some yards as well. So just not a great play altogether from Dallas. Part of you almost wonders, should they just stop playing zone altogether? I mean, if this isn't coaching and the players just aren't this smart, which it isn't because they've done better in zone coverage in the past, a lot of these guys, then, if you want to say this isn't coaching and they should just go to man coverage, well, I mean, you could do that. The counter is that, it'd be really hard to stop the run. But the thing is, they can't stop the run anyways. They really struggle at stopping the run, even when playing zone. This is a great example of just a great running play against them, where it's going to be, the way it's going to work is that Cleveland is going to have a tackle move out to block an edge rusher, which is difficult given how far that Dallas player is away. I mean, notice he's already lined up past the tight end, so this is a difficult block. What's going to happen is the tight end is going to kind of try to slow him down a little bit before he runs over and blocks the player he's supposed to block. But this is a difficult block, and for most teams, it's not going to work out too well. If it does work out, then that's great, and you can pick up a first down probably. But again, watch how just easy 78 for Cleveland is going to be able to not only get into the play, but sort of turn his shoulders like that to where now it's just an easy run to get to the edge. And not just this, but the tight end and a receiver is able to run over and make their 2 blocks, which leads to an easy big run all the way inside the 5-yard line from Dearness Johnson. The only reason it wasn't a touchdown was because Cleveland intentionally didn't, they left a defensive back unblocked, and he was the one who finally made the play. So their run defense isn't good, and they make up for it by not being able to stop the pass. Here's what frustrates me about their defense, is that they have talented guys. It's not a talent problem altogether. A lot of this just is, in between the ears, and I do feel like if they can figure it out, their defense could get a lot better. But they're making mistakes that they shouldn't be making, and so when it's, actual good concepts, then they're really struggling, and this one's a great example of that. It's cover 3 zone, and the way it works is that they have, Atlanta has one receiver lined up on the top of the screen, and he's going to run deep, and he's going to cut over the middle. And on cover 3, the 2 corners covering deep, towards the sideline deep, both of those 2 sections, those 2 corners are, that's where you're quote unquote supposed to cover, but really even in a defense like this where they pretty much just stay in their zone, you still want to get out of your zone pretty frequently. You're supposed to in cover 3. And so when a receiver runs over the middle, what that can often do is the corner covering him will run over the middle as well. And then what you can do is you can simply just have a tight end sort of flash underneath. Then he runs deep to where that zone was, and he can potentially get open if no other Dallas player notices it. This is a good concept. It's a cover 3 killer, and it really is. It's one of the best concepts you can run against cover 3. So the fact that Dallas is going to lose on this concept isn't really why I'm bringing it up, because a lot of teams, some of the best defenses in the league lose against this concept. But watch how it happens, where once this play starts, what drives me crazy is that, you notice, so there is an Atlanta player, the tight end, it looks like he's about to get open right here, Typically, one thing you might do in this moment, it's not a great thing to do, but it is something that can happen, is a linebacker will notice this and try to keep up with the tight end, make it a difficult throw. It still can, a solid throw, and it's going to be a big completion, so it's kind of desperation time at this point, but that's what you would want Dallas to do if you're a Dallas fan. But what's even crazier about this is that the player who I really want to talk about, it's the Dallas player who's only lined up, only a few yards to the top of the screen of the tight end. That's Jalen Smith, who is obviously a great player, and he should notice that this tight end is running here, but he just doesn't. He stays short, covering up, I guess, a potential screenplay when he doesn't really have to, which is just going to leave a tight end just completely open. That's an easy touchdown. And Atlanta didn't even have to work for that one. I mean, that one was just easy. And that's really how Dallas is losing these games. It's even by their best players making dumb mistakes, which to me says coaching. It doesn't say that it's, just a talent issue, which I think is a good thing for Dallas because that means you can potentially turn it around. But they have to turn it around, and they have to turn it around quickly. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.